note to the listeners: stay in the central area and don't go out
I
at night.
look. I'm gonna just say the homeless lady that tried to rob me robs me in the middle of the day in Center City.
You're not helping your case here.
I'm sorry.
Kayla, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hello, Pavel. It's nice to meet you. I'm doing awesome.
Awesome.
I'm very excited to be here.
Fabulous. Okay, we're gonna be talking about Philadelphia today, which is in USA. My only touch with USA was back in 2008 when I went to work in Alaska for a few months, and then I also visited Seattle. I know, right? And then I
I know,
also
right? That's random. You're like, my only time in the US, I went to Alaska. But that's very cool because I've never been to Alaska. So you've gone to a place most Americans probably have
I
not
know,
been.
I know most Americans. Let me just change my background, and I just feel more USA-y. Um, that was a crazy summer. I changed 11 flights altogether because it's not like Bulgaria, Alaska. Like Bulgaria, Rome, Atlanta, Seattle, Alaska, and then back, and then flights inside Alaska as well. It was a crazy journey. So I'm really excited to learn about Philadelphia. I assume most Americans don't know much about Europe, and many Europeans are not. I mean, they know the major stuff in USA, but when it comes to smaller places and cities, we are not so familiar. So I'm really excited about that. But before we go to Philadelphia, what I usually like to do is ask about you, because I never met you in person, and I actually met you online. What, less than a week ago? Yeah.
Right? Yeah, we talked for like 5 minutes
So
and now we're
crazy.
here.
Yeah. So you're from USA, but you live in Taiwan. So I'm just curious, like, were you born in
Yes.
USA? Like, why did you choose Taiwan? Like, what's happening? Just tell us a bit about yourself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I was born in the US. I actually grew up in the country. So I moved to the city to Philly when I was like 20. So I lived there for about 5 years. So if you think about it, I know like a little bit about Trump County life and then that city life. Although thank God I left the country. I'm not a country person. But anyways, so yeah, I've lived in the state of Pennsylvania my most of my life in the US. I have traveled around the United States though. When I was 20, I like packed up my car and drove like all the way across the country from I started in Pittsburgh, I went down to Georgia, I went to the West Coast, and then I looped back around through Colorado. So I actually never made it up to the northwest of the US.
Okay.
But so luckily I did get to know like most of the United States, but I just didn't want to like live there, really. Like I just felt like I looked at other countries and I was like, they seem like they're doing stuff better than us, and I don't know why we're not like that.
Better
So,
than in Philadelphia or better than USA?
just like the general U.S., yeah.
Okay. Like, what do you?
Like like when it comes to like the welfare of the people and like social issues, like healthcare and like just the general. Like I'd look at other countries and I'd be like, we're just as developed as they are, and yet we somehow still don't have these things.
And you decided to choose Taiwan.
Yes. So I've always loved to travel,
Okay.
but when it came to being like, all right, where am I going to go and live? And obviously, because I've worked with kids for so long, it made sense to be an English teacher. And that's one of the easiest ways to live abroad. So I chose Taiwan. I weighted against like South Korea, Vietnam, Japan. And when it came to the culture and the income that I learned about, I was like, I think Taiwan's it. I just thought that it was it.
And you're
And I
there how long now?
I've been in Taiwan for 10 months.
10 months. So far, so good. Are you?
Yes. Yeah, I live in a weird part of Taiwan though, cuz I actually can see China from where I live.
Ooh. So is that
Yeah.
is that the weird part that you can see China?
That's the weird part of it because some people like if for example, like on my YouTube channel, when I tell people like, "Oh, if I live in Taiwan," they're like, "No, you don't live in Taiwan. You live in China." But like I don't live in China. Where I live is under Taiwan's um like governmental rule.
Uh huh.
So there's like a lot of military and stuff here. So we're actually so close to China that our history actually goes back much longer than the main island of Taiwan. And so here the culture is like actually there's a lot of Chinese culture where I live. It's called Kinmen Island. So if you ever look it up, that's where I'm at.
Okay.
But,
It's
you know,
it's funny.
yeah.
It's funny how you said our culture, and
What I just say our culture here, like my
yeah,
island.
yeah. Like you're 10 months there, and you're like, I'm a local already here. It's our culture.
I mean, I see like so. There's actually so many Taiwanese tourists visiting from the main island, and they see me, and I'm like, I probably know more about this place than you do, and you're Taiwanese.
It's often the case. Really often the case. Yeah. Okay. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
Oh,
yes, that's
it's a big
me.
island.
It's pretty big. I was riding my bike around it earlier.
Ah,
It's
nice.
not super big. I'd say maybe it's like 15, maybe like 20 miles wide.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
And then, like earlier today, I was on the other side of the island, and so I could see like the whole skyline of Xiamen.
Taiwan. Okay, so you're not on the
Yeah,
main.
look,
Is it? Are there just two islands?
the two little like Taiwan, Jinmen. I think Taiwan has a couple more islands. Penghu, Green Island, but I've never been to any of the other islands except for Jinmen, and then obviously main island
I
Taiwan.
see. I see. Okay. Let's move from Taiwan. It seems like if you live just a bit more and you already know about Taiwan, it seems like I'm curious to do an episode about Taiwan as well. But let's move to the other side of the globe and talk about
Yay!
Pennsylvania, which is Philadelphia. Sorry, which okay, it's in Pennsylvania, but it's close to New York. So let's start with that. Uh, you said you are a tour guide. Was that correct?
Yes, I was a tour guide for one summer
Oh, for one
in
summer. Why?
Philly.
Why so short?
One summer. I think the company just started to drag towards the end of the summer and they were just like, we don't want you.
Ooh.
I don't know. Just like weird Philly type drama. So I was like, okay, whatever.
Okay.
So, I had my stint as a tour guide. It was a great experience. I learned so much about the city I lived in while I was living there. So
So did they tell
it
you?
is what it
Okay,
is.
here are the books. You need to learn this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. They'd literally be like, this is a script. Like,
Uh-huh.
these are the facts that you need to
All
know.
right.
So, yeah. And it's like a whole hour and a half tour.
Okay.
So if the bus got like stopped, like one time, okay, so the DNC actually happened in Philly one time, and I was working, and so we got stuck under this like tunnel in Center City for like 30 minutes. And I had to not only like entertain this crowd for an entire 30 minutes under this tunnel, but like there's just like exhaust coming everywhere and like nobody can breathe. It was insane because like it was so busy. Like we were just trapped. So I've learned a lot of skills and learned a lot about Philly.
Remarkable. Let's see how much you remember from those stories you
I
were
know.
saying. Yeah. how long was
I know. I was thinking about that. I was like,
how
oh
long how
man.
long was that ago?
2000,
2000.
2017,
All right. About 3 years.
2016.
Okay. Yeah. Could be maybe a bit rusty, but still got it right.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
bit.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Let's see how that's gonna go then. Okay. Let's start with is there any complications when it comes to traveling and arriving to Philadelphia? Like, I would assume you can land there. You don't need to go to New York or New Jersey or somewhere else and then travel.
Yep. We have a major airport, so you can go to the airport, and there's also you don't even need to pay for like a car from the airport to the city.
Hmm.
There's a train, so you can take a train for like 6, 7 US dollars to Center City. So that's really nice versus paying like $50 for an Uber.
All right.
Um, yeah,
Oh,
there's that.
and then from the
And
airport,
also if
and then from the
from the
airport to the
airport,
city, what's the best option?
yes, the train.
The train. Okay, pick a
The
train.
train. There's a train that runs right outside the airport.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Because I'm looking at the map and Philadelphia is between New York and Washington. And in both these cities, there is a lot to see, I'm sure. And I'm just curious to find out now why we should pick Philadelphia between those neighboring cities there, or at least if we go to New York, include Philadelphia in a day or 2 days or whatever it is. So, what can we see in Philadelphia, Kayla?
All right, so Philly is known for its history. Like it's one of the US's most historic cities. It's where the Declaration of Independence was signed.
Oh,
So if you're interested, like it's the birthplace of the US. as we would call
Oh.
it. So there you have Independence Hall, um, the Liberty Bell, some of the oldest like streets and buildings like in the country you can see in Philly. So you'll see brand new skyscrapers next to like a 300, 400 year old building.
Okay. Mm.
So we're very, very like keen on like the history. And I think the history is the reason that people want to go to Philly. And I think especially if somebody's interested, like if they're not from the United States and they want to learn more about like our the birthplace, like Philadelphia is the place to go.
Interesting. So I would assume you can see the declaration somewhere in one of the museums, maybe?
Yes, but I'm not sure. Oh no, 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 no. I think it's actually in DC.
Okay.
I
Makes sense.
think I'm not really sure because sometimes maybe like the real copy isn't even public
It makes sense. It's
because
kind
I've
of
seen a
old.
copy of it, but I'm not really sure if it was real.
It's kind of old, right? Old, even light will damage it, so it makes sense to be somewhere hidden. Okay, you mentioned briefly like what we can see and why Philadelphia is attractive. Can we go more detailed in one or two places?
Okay, let me think.
Let's think.
All right. Well, so I'm gonna say start in Center City, start at Independence Hall, start there's the Constitutional Hall. You can see one of the US mints. You can visit there.
One of
Ben
what?
Franklin's
US what?
grave. The US Mint, so that's where they print money.
Oh, okay. So can you see
Hmm.
that?
Yes, you can take a tour in there, and they'll give you $100 bill on your way out, but it's shredded.
Shredded.
Yeah, so they it's like it's just a joke, you know. They want to make you think you get $100, but they ripped it apart.
Okay. All right. So okay. I would assume like there are these banknotes that every once in a while, sometimes they give you banknotes, but it says like duplicate or copy or something like that, but they shred it. That well, what you can do, you can
Oh.
take the shredded pieces and keep them with you, or like,
Yeah, exactly. That's just like what you get. They're like, here you go, and you're like, oh, cool, $100 that I can't use.
do you have this?
Exactly. No, I never got it.
I never.
But I would tell tourists to go, and they would all be like, "Oh, so cool!" And then I'd be like, "Yeah," and then they rip it up, and they'd be very disappointed after I tell them that.
Okay. Anything specific for this location except that they give you a shredded banknote?
The Mint, no, just
Just it's
it's
just a
just the
mint.
Mint.
Just go.
It's one of the locations. Right across from the Mint, there is a very old gravesite, and that's actually where Benjamin Franklin is buried. Yeah, so Ben Franklin did a lot of stuff in Philly. He did a lot. He helped with the first volunteer fire department, the first free library. What else? Oh my God, he did so many things, and I'm blanking on them. But Ben Franklin, yeah, he was like an innovator, and there was a lot of other people behind that also helped him with his accomplishments in the city. Oh, the first printing press in the United States was also in Philly, and he was behind that.
Okay, so the first fire brigade in USA was basically volunteers, and it was in starting in Philadelphia.
Yes, and you can go see it as well.
Okay, so was Philadelphia a capital back in the days?
Yes, yeah, it was before Washington D.C. It was the original capital of the U.S.
So why did they change it? Do you know?
Why did they change it? It's a great question. I do not know that.
Okay, something for us to research. Why did they change the capital? Okay, what else we can see then?
Other great things in Philly. So, I mean, if you're in it for the history, then Center City is where people want to go. But I'm a little biased. I love West Philly. I don't know, like West Philadelphia, born and raised, right? A lot of people say that when I say I lived in West Philly. You get it, Will Smith,
Okay, what's
Fresh Prince of Bel Air.
so what's in the west side of Philadelphia?
So the west side of Philadelphia, I think, is one of the places that if you want to get the best food in Philly, like you need to go there.
Okay.
Can you still hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, I hear my laptop freaking out. Anyways, so I used to live near this area called Clark Park, which is in West Philadelphia, and along Baltimore Avenue, which is right next to the park. there's food everywhere. You can get Ethiopian food, Vietnamese, Chinese, Mexican. Um,
So you're talking about
like
street
it's a
food.
great neighborhood for
You're
food.
talking street food or little
No, restaurants.
restaurants.
Yeah.
Okay, what was the name of the area?
Uh, Spruce Park or Spruce Hill.
Spruce Hill.
Spruce Hill, West Philadelphia, Baltimore Avenue.
Okay, so you would say go to Spruce Hill. So how big is Philadelphia, by the way? How many people live there? Do you know roughly?
About 1.5 million.
Okay, so
Yeah, and the city is very centered. So like you have like Center City,
mhm.
but as you go, like you go into North Philly, South Philly, West Philly, that's still a part of the city, but the buildings just aren't as tall as they are in the very center.
Okay, so where is the old town?
The old town is called Old City.
Philadelphia. Oh,
And so that's close to Center City. That's on like the furthest east side next to the Delaware River.
okay. So you have a river as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's why there's no such thing as like East Philly because it stops right there. You have Center City, West, North, and South.
I
And then you
see.
have the river on the east side.
I see. Okay.
So, and actually, there's technically two rivers.
Which are?
You have the river that's on the end of the city, the Delaware River.
Yeah.
And then between Center City and West Philly, there's another river called the Schuylkill River.
Okay, I see what you mean. The but that small river basically comes out of the Delaware River, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can see down at the
And
bottom.
then and then in between is the old part of the town.
Yeah, so right actually where your little marker is,
Yeah, that's old
that's
town.
like Old
That's the
City.
old city. Yeah.
That's what we call Old City. So that's where you're going to see most of the historic stuff about like First, Second, Third, Fourth, Fifth Street.
Is it in is that old city called Old City in Philadelphia or in USA in general the old part of the towns are called Old City?
That's a great question. I haven't thought about it like that. I just know that this is we call this neighborhood Old City.
Okay. Because in
So in
Europe,
the US, I mean, maybe they might call it like the historic district
uh-huh.
in other places.
Because in
Philly's the only city I lived in for a long time, so perhaps I never gained that knowledge visiting other
all
places.
right. Because in Europe we there is always an old well always like majority of the places there is an old town. It's always an old town, and the old town is always old buildings. That's where the town started first, but then it expanded. It doesn't mean it's not always
Mm,
in the center because sometimes the city expanded on the side. Sometimes it's a bit a bit on the side,
mm-hmm.
but we always call it. It's always called the old town. The
Town.
old town.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, that's why I ask you, like, is it always Old City or is just in Philadelphia it's called Old City? But maybe in USA in general they say it like that. This is the old city.
Yeah, like every part of a city in the US definitely has like it's like original spot where it started, but perhaps they'll call it something different.
All right. Okay. So what else? What else? What can we see?
What else can you see? Oh, another place that a lot of people should go if they visit Philly is they should hit up the Ben Franklin Parkway. So the Ben Franklin Parkway. Actually, Let's start at City Hall.
Okay.
City Hall. So that's at 15th and Market Street. And City Hall was constructed. They started building it in the 1800s, and it was supposed to take like only a couple years to build, but they ended up taking 30 years to build this. I think they finished it in 1903, and it was based off of French architecture. And the whole building, now I'm just thinking of all these random facts I know about the building.
Uh-huh.
Um, they do not have central air because it's so old. So if you go there and you see a bunch of air conditioners, that's because they cannot install central air because the whole building is just like giant blocks of concrete.
What do you mean by
It's
central
absolutely
air?
gorgeous. Central air is like like central heating, like the if a building has air
Oh,
conditioners
central
that
heating.
would like come from the ceiling or something.
Okay.
Like they don't do that. They have to have an air conditioner.
Ah. All right.
because it's so old they can't install it. That's a super random fact, I know. Anyways, and at the very top of that, on very top of City Hall is this giant statue of William Penn. And William Penn is the like father of Philadelphia.
The father.
Yes.
I thought we are gonna put Benjamin Franklin on top.
No, surprisingly not.
What do you mean by the father? He started the first community in Philadelphia, or what's the case here?
So yeah, he like I can't put my total word on it, but essentially he's like the founder of Philly. He's actually like Pennsylvania, the state is actually in Latin, it's Penn's Woods, which means yeah, William Penn's Woods.
Oh, so Pennsylvania. So Pence will come from his name, and then the
I
rest
guess Penn's Sylvania
Pence Woods.
Woods.
Vania is, I don't know.
I guess. I don't know Latin.
Okay, all right, no problem. Um, what else? So I will assume from what you're saying, you're gonna see a lot of statues and names of Pence and Franklin around the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, at least once you're like in Center City. Once you get into the other neighborhoods, like they're their own worlds. So the Center City, Old City, that's like the tourist destinations. Tourists usually aren't visiting like North Philly or West Philly.
Mm-hmm. And what is the Sunny Philly?
The what?
Sunny Philly?
Sunny Philly?
Yeah, there was a TV series called Sunny
Oh
Philly.
my god. I love that show. It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Oh
Is
my
it true?
god. I mean, they capture the essence of like trashy Philly
Uh
people
huh.
in a sense, like they really do. Like, I mean, people in Philly aren't exactly like that, but people in Philly are definitely like, like I feel like people in Philly do have a tough attitude.
Tougher than the
So,
usual American.
yeah, I'd say so. Like, I mean, I like learned how to take care of myself. I grew up in a small town and I went to Philly and I was like, all right, man, like I have to learn how to take care of myself, like fend for myself and like financially, physically, like anything like that. Like I've definitely had some like crazy experiences in that city.
Okay, but
But
okay, I'm sorry for asking you. You don't need to answer if you want, but so you had to learn because you have difficulties in your family, or you were just pushed to learn.
I mean, it's just like a rough environment. Like, like there's parts of the city that are nice, but I feel like, like, and this is kind of like you could say this about a lot of like US cities in particular is, like the US in general just isn't like the safest place. We still have gun violence, have a lot of poverty, homelessness. So, like, I mean, I was almost jumped on my bike one night, like riding home.
Oh,
Yeah, like a homeless lady tried to rob me one time. Men like have catcalled me like too many times. Like literally, I was like, I'm literally I can't live here anymore. I'm just
I
so
see.
tired. I'm so tired.
I see. I see.
It's just a place where like you realize like people like yeah, like I mean we can like Philly's a great city and I
Hmm.
can glorify like a lot of aspects of it, but like at the same time like people are like getting shot
Hmm.
anywhere every day. Like somebody's probably getting shot, and it's just like senseless violence is happening in a lot of places.
Hmm.
So, and I've lived, even though like I lived in like nice parts of the city, I've also lived in like really like not great parts of the city. So I'd like walk to the train and I'd be like, oh yeah, maybe I'll get robbed today. Probably not. But like the fact is that that's like in the back of your head. Like that somebody like might like fuck with you.
Hmm.
So
All right. Tough. Tough. Oh, sorry to hear that. Well, you don't make it very
it's
pleasing for
okay.
potential tourists, though.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Is like the tourists. Like I feel like as tourists stay in like certain areas, then like you should be fine.
So
I mean,
just stay in central area.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just like anywhere you travel,
Okay, no, yeah, but
really.
for Philadelphia, where shall we stay then? Where shall we?
I mean, Center City is definitely the ideal spot,
Okay.
especially because you're going to be closest to all the stuff. All I'm saying is that like anywhere, like there's you can run into people that you're just like, oh my god, like how did I run into you today?
Okay. Let's go back to the. So it's a tough area. Stay. Note to the listeners: stay in the central area and don't go out
I
at night.
look. I'm gonna just say the homeless lady that tried to rob me robbed me in the middle of the day in Center City.
You're not helping your case here.
I'm sorry. Look, all like, look, you know what? Like, I'm. But the thing is if anybody here has traveled to like most places where you have to just generally be aware of like, oh,
Hmm.
maybe somebody will like pickpocket me or rob me today. Like,
Hmm.
it's the same thing with Philly. It's just just be streetwise.
Okay.
Like obviously there's certain neighborhoods that if you go to, like you want to be more streetwise than just like in Center City. But
Okay. Keep it in central
yeah,
city. Okay.
I love Philly. I love Philly. Okay, I would definitely go back there to be around the culture and the people and like all the amazing things that you can find there for sure. I just 4 years is a long time to be there.
Hmm. All right. No problem. Let's go back to the sightseeings. I just had a look how the hall looks from inside, and it's a quite interesting place, I think, to walk. Is there a is
Yes.
there an option to get a guide inside or something?
Is this City Hall?
Yes.
Not. I mean, I'm sure it exists, but not that I know of.
Okay.
So you can see there's actually a tower in there as well.
Yeah.
So that'll take you up to like underneath where the giant William Penn
Hmm.
statue is. There's this like observation area where you can see around the entire city. And also, can you go back to that picture
When people
of
are
the,
gazing outside.
yeah,
Uh huh.
yeah, the view.
Okay. Yeah. If I just find it, yeah.
There we go. So like the other blue building,
There is a blue building. People are watching
the
from the
one that
very
we're
top.
looking
Yeah.
at, it's on the side. You can also go to the top of that one.
What's the name of the
It's
building?
called Liberty One Place,
Liberty One.
and it's higher than City Hall. I've been up there. The view's really, really, really beautiful.
But it seems like it's a, how do you call it? It's a commercial building, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So actually, at the bottom, there's like a bunch of like stores and shops and stuff, and then I don't really know what's between like the fourth and the 16th floor. Not really sure what's in between there. But then once you get, I believe it's the 17th floor, you have the observation deck.
Hmm. Yeah, there is an observation deck.
Mm.
We even with chairs, you can
Mm-hmm.
chill, you can walk around and see basically Philadelphia 360, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
absolutely. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, you have a nice view of the river and all the buildings, and you can see from the very top which areas are rough, maybe a bit darker. You don't go there, right?
Um,
No, I,
yeah, just
I'm just kidding. Okay, this is a nice place to see. I think the observation hall of the observation deck in Liberty One. Is there a price to go there? I would assume there is.
I think it's about 20 US dollars.
$20. Is that a normal price for an attraction?
I think so. At least when it like honestly, any observation deck I've ever known about in like most cities are always like $20, $15.
Mhm.
So it seems like a pretty average price.
All right.
Um,
How are the
yeah.
prices in general in Philadelphia?
The prices in general are they're not bad. I mean, it's definitely cheaper than like New York.
Okay, I would assume that.
I mean, if you want to go out and get like a decent meal for like one person, you're probably going to spend $10.
That's in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think that.
And it depends on how fancy it is.
Yeah, I don't think.
So if it's like
I don't think
ten
$10 is
dollars is
bad.
like your baseline like price you're gonna pay for like an all right like Philly dinner.
What about the tipping culture? Because I think in USA you're in a way obligated to leave a percentage of your bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's always recommended like 15%, but yeah, waiters in the U.S. are only getting paid like $3 an hour,
Wow.
so they rely. Yeah, they like because they get tips,
Hmm.
so they're legally allowed to pay them like $3 an hour,
Okay, but
and they're taking taxes out of that $3 as well. So this is why tipping culture in the U.S. is like really pushed because they're not making money if they're not getting tipped well.
but are they paying taxes on the tips? No.
Yes.
Yes. So they need to declare the
Yes.
tips basically.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. That is very interesting because the tips will be coming in the form of cash. Are you going to declare all the cash? That's a different story.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've had some friends that are waitresses, and they'll be like, "Ah, just skim off like a little." So they, yeah, that's that's what it
Yeah,
is.
understandable. Okay, that's very interesting. $3 an hour. So that's an exception for the waiting staff, basically. The rest of the population,
Yeah,
the rest of the jobs, they have a minimum salary that you can.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Waiting staff. If you're like a busser, like cleaning tables and stuff, you also get part of the
Mm-hmm.
tips. So you make because I used to be a busser at a restaurant, so I made a little bit more than the waiters and waitresses, but I still got part of their tips,
Okay. Oh,
which
you
is like
you
a
made a bit
portion.
more. You mean per hour you were paid more?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I was a busser as well. I was a dishwasher in
yeah,
in Alaska. We did it all. Okay. Anything else we need to see here around Philadelphia or?
yeah, yeah, definitely. Okay, so
Go.
there's one spot that if you're into like creepy history, there is the penitentiary, and that's
Whoa.
in the Fairmount district. Yeah, it's the U.S.'s first penitentiary. It's like it's huge. Like you look at it and you're like, yo, what's up with this castle? But you realize it's a old prison, and they would put people in there and they would like lock them in their cells for like 24 hours a day. I think maybe 1 hour they'd go outside. They'd make them like pray. Like they thought like religion would help them and fix them, but like that people were just going insane in here.
Wow.
And it was like very early plumbing system, so like it just had like a lot of issues.
Ins-
Also, Al Capone, I think it was Al Capone. He was actually imprisoned in here one time,
hmm.
but he had like a really nice fancy cell.
And there are tours.
Wait, am I getting that right? Am I getting that right? Al Capone, or is
Okay.
that
Yeah,
like?
let's Google it. Let's Google it just in case. Let's make sure.
I'm like, did I just say some random famous person? I want to make sure.
Yeah, this is a
Al
very old building that is basically quite attract. It's looking quite attractive from outside. It looks like a castle, but when you go inside, you actually see it's a prison. So that would
Mm-hmm.
be very interesting if you don't make your research and you visit Philadelphia and you're like, la 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 la. What can we see? Oh, what a nice looking castle! And then you go inside and you're like,
Yeah,
oh,
exactly. It's so cool. Like you learn about the history there. In the 70s,
yeah.
there was a bunch of feral cats. So this is before they turned it into a museum. So they closed it down. And in the 70s, a bunch of feral cats took over, and they got rid of the cats and they later on turned it into the museum that it is. Now,
Took
there are some
over.
parts that are still like
Took
closed
over. How
off that
many
you can't
cats were
go.
there?
Probably
What
thousands.
1,000 cats?
Just a bunch of cats just live there.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
I
So
would guess, yeah.
yeah, that needed some restoration, some work because it was not even fit for
Mm-hmm.
tourists to walk around. It was really, really bad
Mm-hmm.
for all cats.
And in during Halloween, they turn it into a haunted house
Oh my
experience.
god, that must be
Yeah,
creepy.
yeah, yeah. I've gone twice.
Oh, and this
It's
in
awesome.
during Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh my god, my heart will explode most likely. Um, but this place is massive.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's absolutely
how long is it
massive.
gonna take you to go around it?
When I went on the official tour, it
Hmm.
took me maybe like an hour and a half,
Hmm. Yeah.
2 hours, and obviously that depends on like how, because some people browse museums like really slowly, and others kind of just like rush through them.
Yeah. And the
So
slow.
I'd say you can spend between an hour and two
So
here,
give me half a day
because
here. I'm gonna need half a day probably. I need to read everything.
yeah, oh yeah, and they have an audio tour, so like you can like put in the headphones and like go
Hmm.
to different sections and learn about things that have happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is like one of the spots that I recommend visiting.
Yeah, love that. It's a nice place. I would definitely put that in my list if I go to Philadelphia. Where is that actually? In which area?
This is in Fairmount.
Which is very far away from the city center or not so far?
No, you could probably walk there from like City Hall in like 15, 20 minutes.
Hmm. All right. It's very interesting that, as you say, the declaration was signed in Philadelphia and all these things because you said this is the first prison, right? In
Yeah, the
USA.
first penitentiary, which is like where they're supposed to, repent their sins and stuff.
Okay. Okay. Because, many things have started probably in Philadelphia. You can, brag with so many things. We are the first in this and this and that.
Yeah, at least when it comes to the first in the US.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, not in the world. Not
Mm-hmm.
in the world, in USA.
Yes.
It's so interesting. This building is surrounded with, in a way, modern buildings, and it's quite. It's a.
Mm-hmm.
When was that built? Is it the 1800s again?
Yeah, I think the
Hmm.
1800s.
Okay, that was a good spot. What else?
Another spot I would recommend is so, oh yeah, let's go back to City Hall.
Yeah,
So we're at City Hall. If you go up, there is City Hall, and then there's this like one area that just branches off because all of Philadelphia is a grid. There's one area that branches off of the grid, and that's the Ben Franklin Parkway. And the Ben Franklin Parkway is lined with every flag from the world. So it's supposed to like represent all of the people that live in the city of Philadelphia. And as you go up the parkway, there's the, oh, what is it? The Rhodes Museum. I think he is a French artist.
the Rhodes Museum.
Yes, the Rhodes Museum.
Okay, so you're referring to a long streets with many flags.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
have you seen a Bulgarian flag, or do you know how a Bulgarian flag looks like? Anyway, that was a tricky question. You would have shocked me if you have said yes. It's basically white, green, red, and there is a flag on the left that looks like that, but I'm not sure if there's something yellow.
Maybe. It's probably somewhere along there.
Most likely, Bulgarians are everywhere. I wouldn't be surprised. We can see the Finnish flag, Polish flag, many flags. Okay, that's interesting. I would assume you have most of the flags in the world. Is that true? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And at the end of this picture here, that is the Philadelphia Museum of Art.
Art. Okay. I'm not an
Yes.
art fan, but is it free?
Every, I think it's
Every
every
second
first
Wednesday.
Sunday of the month. It has like one of those like special days where it's
Yeah.
like every something day of the month,
Okay.
it's free, or it's like donate what you want.
Hmm.
So the only time I went was when I paid like $1.
Otherwise, it's what, 15, 20?
Mm,
Not so much.
maybe like 10.
10. More like 10. The one of
Yeah.
the good things about London is that galleries, museums are usually for free. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like the second
That's
Sunday of
crazy.
every month. They're usually for free. You go National Gallery, you can see the flowers, some flowers from Van Gogh, and many many other things, free. You go to
Mm.
museums, free, and that's one of
So
the.
I went to London, but I didn't go into any museums.
Maybe next time. Maybe
Probably a
next
mistake
time.
on me. Yes.
Maybe next time. Okay. Anything else we would like to see here?
There's another place that I'd also recommend for anybody that's interested in like weird history and places. It's called the Mutter Museum.
Modern,
Mutter.
modern.
It's Mutter. I think it's German. Or the
Okay.
Mutter
Why
Museum.
would you recommend
But
it?
this museum is home to like all sort of weird physical oddities. So like you would see like skulls of like, yeah, exactly.
So this is
Like organs,
this is
brains.
weird indeed.
Yeah.
So you have a weird museum, basically.
Yeah, it's every just like strange physical finding in this museum. There's also like a section that's dedicated to, I think it was like the Civil War and like battle wounds. And yeah,
Okay.
it's really cool.
So is that your favorite museum?
My favorite. Hmm. Hmm. I wouldn't say it's my favorite. I would definitely say Eastern State Penitentiary is one of the best that I enjoy, and I think everybody, if they go to Philly, should go. There's also a lot of good museums out in West Philly near the University of Pennsylvania. There's I don't know the names of all the museums out there, but there's like art museums, there's history museums, and I think because the university is there, a lot of those museums get funding
Mhm.
from the university. Like I've gone to like a mummy exhibit. I went to a very strange contemporary art exhibit out there. So if you're interested in museums, like they're in West Philly, and then you can also go along the Ben Franklin Parkway, where there's the Philadelphia Museum of Art as well as the Rhodes Museum.
All right. Coolio. Are we done with the sightseeings, or you want to add something else?
Hmm. Let me think. Sightseeings, Center City, Old City. The Ben Franklin Bridge is another spot that's interesting to see. It's an old city. If you go onto the bridge, you can walk towards the middle of the bridge. It's just nice because you can get like a really nice view of the city. So if you don't want to pay that like $20 to go into One Liberty Place all the way up, you can just walk onto the bridge and you can see the city from the distance.
Yeah, but you don't see it from the top, right?
You don't see it from the top, but it's still a good view.
Okay. But where can you see that view of the bridge when it's from far away? Is that from the building from the top? No, actually, the
That view of
building's
the
in the back.
bridge, yeah. Yeah, so like that's the view or the larger picture that you have up, that's the view of the city from the bridge. Oh, you can go to so this view of the bridge, the one that's kind of like from a little bit below, that is from Penn's Landing.
Fine.
Penn's Landing is a really great place to go over the summertime. There is sometimes music festivals, arts festivals. There's a park there. There's a also a spot called Spruce Street Harbor Park, and at Spruce Street Harbor Park during the summertime they have food. There's a beer garden. There's hammocks everywhere. They like have lights hanging from the trees. They have games. It's for people who visit Philly over the summertime. Spruce Street Harbor Park is a really awesome spot to visit.
All right. Nice place to see. Oh, that's an interesting photo when they were from
Wow.
many years ago when probably
Yes.
they just built the bridge. Okay. So we got an understanding roughly like what can we see and where shall we stay away from. But is there any point that you would like to make when it comes to food and drinks? Is there any specific?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it seems like you were waiting for
Yeah.
this question. Go on,
I
yeah.
mean,
Go on.
dude, man, if you make me talk about food, I'm just gonna feel so sad because I eat the same food here all the time.
Really?
Um,
There is no variety in Taiwan?
yeah, not well where I live because it's a really small place. There's not as much variety,
Hmm.
but it's fine. I just even I think on the main island of Taiwan, like to find the types of food that you could find in Philly, like you can find it, but it's definitely just it's not going to be the same. So
So what were you
this is
eating
like
in Philly then?
in Philly. So this is what I was talking about when I was talking about West Philly and the food out there along Baltimore Avenue. Is that like I would love like oh my god, the food in Philly is so good. You get Ethiopian, your Vietnamese, your Thai food. Like I think the food in Philly is so good because you have communities from all over the world
Mhm.
in Philly. So if you want to get like authentic tasting food from anywhere, you can find it. So and obviously like there's a Philly cheesesteak.
Mhm.
Have you heard of the Philly cheesesteak?
No.
What? Okay, okay, yeah, okay. So any tourist in Philly needs to know about this. It's called a Philly cheesesteak. It's sliced steak, and they usually can put cheese whiz or American or mozzarella. Although like cheese whiz is like the original Philly cheesesteak. You can get it with fried onions,
Okay.
and it's on a long roll. There you go. That's it.
So basically you have a bun like a piece of bread and then you have a
Mm-hmm.
steak which is shredded like the banknote that they give you.
Yeah, absolutely,
So
absolutely.
is the steak is it beef?
Yes.
Okay, you have a beef, steak, and cheese on top that it's melted, and some veggies like onion and peppers.
Yeah, you can get chicken too. They call it chicken cheesesteak. I've never had the chicken cheesesteak though.
Okay, because this is called Philly cheesesteak. It's not just beef cheesesteak; it's Philly cheesesteak. So,
Yeah, Philly cheesesteak.
so why is it calling? Why is it called like that? Is it coming from originating from Philadelphia? Is everybody in the country, all around the states, they're calling it Philly cheesesteak, or what's happening here?
Yeah. Yeah, you actually like you can go places and like on the menu they'll call it like a Philly cheesesteak. Like I was in Texas. No, I was in Georgia and I was looking at this menu and it was like Philly cheesesteak and I was like, okay, sure. But like yeah, they'll label stuff like Philly cheesesteak.
You
I
sounded
think even that
you sounded like, okay, sure. I'm sure you not got it right. I'm sure ours tastes better, but okay, sure, you got it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean it's like being here in Taiwan. I'm like, yeah, I could go get some like Tex-Mex, but like is it really going to be the same or like Pete like there's this guy in Taipei and he has a pizza shop and he's from New York and his pizza's still like really good, but I'm still like I don't know, like you can't when you travel and you want to find something from your like home country for your home city, like you can find it, but it's never gonna be
Of course.
exactly the
Of
same.
course. Never,
So,
never. Even things that should be standardized, like Coca-Cola, when you're producing Coca-Cola in your country, they tell you like, okay, put that much sugar in that much, da, da, da. But even in Bulgaria, the Coca-Cola will taste, with one taste, and then you go to Greece, which is a neighboring country, the cola will taste different taste.
mm-hmm.
So it's normal. But are you referring to the pizzas in New York that are so famous? Like these big ones, and like what was it, $1 a piece? Is that the pizza you're
The
referring
dollar slices in New York. I've only been to New York twice, but the dollar slices are a thing. Still delicious. Um,
I haven't been.
Pizza in Philly is okay. Like I think like most pizza, it's best like when it's fresh.
Yes.
So, but there's only like a couple spots in Philly where I'd be like, oh yeah, like that
Mhm.
pizza's like it. Most places though, like I don't know, I think even though like we're still satisfied, even if the pizza's not that great. Usually we're still like, yeah, we don't care, like it's
Yeah.
pizza.
You don't care. You have Philly cheesesteak, so you can always satisfy yourself with that.
Yeah, the Philly cheesesteak, yeah. Philly cheesesteak's okay. Another thing I recommend in Philly. Now, I'm sure if people go to New York already, then hopefully they've eaten this in New York.
Yeah.
And it's halal street cart food.
Okay.
So like in Philly and like New York, like there's like large Muslim communities and halal food is a big thing. And there's these food trucks that sell like chicken and rice, lamb and rice, and it's the best. Like the rice has just like this like mix of spices in it or like whatever. Then they put some meat on it, and then you can get like the spicy sauce and the white sauce. They just call it the white sauce. I don't know what it is exactly,
Yeah, it has some garlic
but
inside.
yeah. Oh, it's so
White
good.
sauce.
It's
Yes,
so
I'm a
good.
fan
So
as
like if
well.
you go to New York or Philly,
So this is like
yes,
a small cart on the
yes.
street
Oh my
when you're
god.
like, oh, okay, you just stop by, like just like how you take hot dogs, for example, but this is just like with halal meat
Mhm.
in it. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, you can get like falafel too. Like, I mean, I'd say probably better in New York.
Uh
Maybe
huh.
I never had it in New York, but I would absolutely like recommend like because when I moved to Philly and I discovered this, I was like, wow, this is incredible. And it's like $5 for like a big tray of it.
Okay. Who needs $10 restaurants when you get $5 halal street food?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yes.
that was good. I was quite surprised with the food that you gave us. Especially the Philly cheesesteak. Well, I learned something new. Well done.
What did you think I was gonna tell you about?
No, I thought that you're
Or
gonna
just
tell me,
no.
yeah, you're gonna tell me like, oh, just like the outside food of different countries and cultures, like Ethiopian, Italian food. I didn't think you have
Mm.
something yours in a way. I would think you
Yep.
outsource all the food, but you know, really pleasant surprise with the Philly cheesesteak.
Yes. Pretzels are also very popular in Philly.
Hmm. Like regular pretzels, or do you use something to
Like the
top them up with something like put
the big
put
pretzels. You
parmesan?
can get them topped. You can get them like that, but like like a original Philly, like there's like the business is called like the Philly Pretzel Factory, and
Ah,
like you'll just see people sometimes outside, which is like a huge ass box of pretzels, and they just give them to
pretzels.
you.
Pretzels.
Yeah,
Okay.
pretzels are a thing in Philly as
Do
well.
you have any notes on drinks?
Drinks. Hmm. I mean, I wouldn't say there's anything like Philly specific. Like I talk about like all the other food that's like from different parts of the world.
Hmm.
Like I'd say like when it comes to drinks, like that's what you're going to be able to get.
Okay.
So no like specific difference that I would notice. There's one thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's popular in other cities as well. When I moved to Philly, a lot of people. I worked at a shop, and they would order pineapple soda,
Pineapple soda. Okay.
and that was something I had never had
Did you try
before.
it?
I was like, "What is?" I was like, "That's a thing." I didn't even know pineapple soda was a thing.
I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. And
So I don't know if that's like really popular in Philly or like in other parts of the states as well. But that's one thing I was like, "Oh, never people. That's the thing."
so you didn't
Yeah.
try it.
No, I never tried it. I'm not really a big
Look,
fan of
even
soda.
it appears even Fanta has pineapple.
Oh, yeah, they do. Huh.
Okay, that may go good with some pretzels.
That probably would. Actually, that might go good with some pineapple on your pizza. I don't know if you're.
No,
Do you? No,
no.
are
Why
you a
would you do
no?
that?
Oh man. Okay, we're gonna have to end this interview right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. Let's not talk about
It's
this now.
over.
Oh no, no, no. Pineapples only on the side. Okay, great. Anything else you would like to add? I think we covered a lot. Anything else you think we missed but needed to be mentioned?
Hmm.
If not, it's okay as well.
No, I'm just
No,
like
we covered everything.
Philly's just a good place. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I think we covered like the major spots that I
of
think
course, not
anybody should
everything,
go
everything,
to.
but we covered the majority. Okay.
Yeah, I would say any additional information would be don't just stay in Center City. Like hit up like some of West Philly. Also go to the South Philly. There's the Italian market down there. There's also a lot of Southeast Asian food as well in South Philly. So Center City is where it's at. But like I feel like personally, like when you explore different parts of a city that are just beyond like the main metro where all the tourists are, like you really get to know like what is it like for people who are actually living there versus if you're just in the center.
Hmm.
So if you want to get to know more about like Philly people and kind of a daily life, try to check out like some other neighborhoods as well.
Okay, that's good. I was going to tell you about to give us some closing words, but I think you just did that. Uh, you recapped the episode in a way, in a really good way. So thank you for that, and thank you for joining. It was a pleasure to learn about Philadelphia and learn about USA in general a bit more. It was a pleasure to learn about the birthplace of USA. Now I know this.
Yes.
Now I know this. Okay,
Yes.
thanks so much for joining us, and I wish you a fantastic day.
Awesome. Thank you, Pavel. Thank you for watching, everybody. And peace. See you.